So, why did I decide to do this training, the Anatomy of the Sassy CEO Sales Mindset? I have been having conversations with my clients about sales for a very long time. I've got a background in sales and marketing, and I love sales. I never used to love sales. When I first started selling, I was a teacher. I was a secondary school teacher once upon a time, and I remember when I first got my first sales gig, I hated it, and I used to say all the time, I'm not a salesperson, because I was really uncomfortable by that term. And I think that's a very common thing when people first start having to deal with being in sales or being a saleswoman. And if you're in business, guess what? You're in sales. And a lot of people, not just women, really struggle with that term because as a culture, we probably put some bad energy around being a salesperson. Like, people can be pushy and maybe they're not honest and that they're doing something wrong if they're trying to sell to you. And so I found that really uncomfortable, and it took me quite a few years I was in pharmaceutical sales to actually start to get comfortable and realize that the sales process was actually me building relationships and actually serving and offering help. And the better I got at that, the better I got at sales. And then I moved into device sales, which is like high pressure. Like, I was in theatres with surgeons actually having to provide education and service, and that was a whole different way of selling again, and learning the psychology of that type of selling. And then fast forward obviously to my own business, where I am also in sales because I talk to people all the time about their business, and there is obviously a sales process involved, because in order for me to truly serve people, they have to work with me. And so that involves the swapping of energy and also the swapping of financial energy. And so I had to learn to become comfortable when I became a business owner and started getting into the consulting space, and it's a different type of selling again. But the stuff I'm going to go through today, I really want you to know that it doesn't matter whether you're a consultant or a coach or in a service industry, or maybe you're out in meetings and you're having to deal with suppliers. You could be in product. Sales is everywhere. Like, being able to influence people and get things to go in the way that you're intending to go, that's all part of sales. And so if you're sitting there going, oh, but I don't really have a consulting business, or I'm not a coach or anything like that, don't switch off from this, because you'll get some golden nuggets to really help you in those situations to move your business and your sales and your revenue forward. So the real reason, though, I decided to do this training is because a couple of weeks ago, after all these years of perfecting my own sales process and really digging deep and studying the mindset of what goes into selling and the psychology of selling, I've had about two conversations that was specifically about sales. And I had one client in particular who got on the phone with me to do a session, and she was just stuck. I mean, we're not just talking I am a little bit stuck this week. It was like, I don't even know how I'm going to make my rent. I'm feeling so blocked and stuck, and I'm just not sure. And she didn't come to me to say, hey, I've got a problem with sales, because often when we're in our own stuff, we can't see what is going on around us. That's why it's great to have someone like a coach or a mentor or someone to help bounce your ideas off. And that's what a lot of my clients use me for, because they're talking to me and getting that feedback and getting out of their heads and their world, so that they can get a sort of a more holistic approach and some feedback into what might be going on. And so she was a little bit resistant when I sort of listened to her problem. And I said, okay, so obviously there's a cash flow issue here. How many sales have you made recently? And that was like, oh, and I could just tell instantly the energy around, the selling of her thing. So we started talking about selling, and I asked her a little bit about her feelings around selling, and we did this great session. I did some processes on her to help her really shift her neurological pathways around what she feels and what she believes about the process of selling and her ability to sell. And the results are phenomenal. And I've actually had another client just in the last 10 days have a similar experience, So the first client has gone from feeling stuck, not sure how to pay rent, to making $10,000 in the space of 5 days, $10,000 worth of sales into her business, which is a huge difference, I'm sure you'll agree. And then another client who, changing her views around how she uses her voice and her confidence and her ability to see herself as that saleswoman and seeing these opportunities just open up. There is so much power, okay, in your ability to create what you want in your life. I mean, anyone who works with me knows just how much I will tell you that over and over again. If you're projecting a movie right now, which is your life and how your business is rolling, and you don't like what you're seeing, you need to take responsibility for that. And I know sometimes that might feel a little bit harsh and a little bit difficult to swallow, but we take responsibility for our results and maybe our stuff ups. And okay, there's no failure, it's only feedback, right? It's just your ability to go, okay, cool, I didn't really like that, or I don't like how this is going. How can I change that? Because I have the power. It's very empowering to be like that. I have the power to change this, and you do have the power to change this, which is why I'm here today to go through the 3 fundamental, I guess, pillars of the Sassy CEO sales mindset that I want you to understand and start to foster into your own business. So number 1, clarity. You need to get clear first. And so we start by doing that, and we look at where you guys are right now. How do you feel about sales, or more specifically selling in your business? Now, the one thing I want to mention here is a lot of women, when they talk to me about sales, they'll say things like, I wish people would just see my value and just buy. Can anyone maybe guess what my issue with that statement might be? Here's the thing, especially when your name is like a big part of the business, if you're, the person who provides the service and you are the key talent, is what I like to call it, we often roll up everything to do with our business with our own personal value. And this is a business, okay? And I want you to start separating out from that and not take everything so personally. It is really going to serve you big time in your sales, because if everything is about you and you're looking at the whole thing in terms of people not seeing the value of you as a human being, you're setting yourself up for some heartache the whole time. And you can almost understand why you'd be just petrified to actually put yourself out there. We don't need to attach so much meaning to the sales process and people rejecting us as human beings. They're not rejecting you as a human being. They might just be having objections about the particular service, or whether they believe that they need that. It's not about them rejecting you as a human being. So start by separating that out and going, this is a service in my business, or this is or a product. This is what I offer. Yes, maybe I'm really emotionally invested in that and I'm really involved in that because it's my baby. But when someone says no, they are not saying no to you as a human being. So now that we've cleared that up, I want you to ask yourself, how do you feel about being a saleswoman? How do you feel about sales in your business? It's a really good question to ask yourself and start to bring awareness into it, because if it's really common for the answer to be things like, I feel really icky, I don't really want to sell, I just wish that people would just see my value and just instantly want to give me the cash. And if they're not doing that, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It's just that everyone has to go through the sales process in whatever fashion that needs to look like for your business, so people can start to learn the value. I mean, we've got all the other aspects of marketing ourselves and creating value and really getting people to be educated about what it is that you do, so that they can see that value and that their barriers are lower when they do finally speak to you or hit up on a sales page. But it's really starting by having that awareness. And I would really encourage you to actually journal or do some sort of awareness exercise around the answers to that question for you, so you can start to see, okay, cool, so I actually have some shit around selling. I actually think that salespeople are bad people. I think that salespeople are slimy. So if you're thinking those sorts of things, why on earth would you want to associate that for yourself? Can you see where I'm getting? And it's about starting to bring some awareness and starting to realize that sales is not an icky thing when done in a great way, which I'll talk to you about. You don't have to be icky. You don't have to feel yucky, because sales is actually about serving. Every single woman I know for a fact right now, because I know all of you, have an amazing talent, service, offering to the world. And there's people out there right now that need you, and they need you to serve them. And sales is about serving, and it's about you believing that innately about you and what your business offers and the services that you offer and what you can bring to the table. And then it's just about serving. It's about adding more value and creating this space where people go, oh, of course, I need to take that on board so I can move forward in my life in whatever areas you help. So start by there. Start by working out where you are right now and how you're feeling or what your beliefs are, which is all coming from culture, what you've been told when you were a kid. I mean, I remember my mum used to say things like, oh, are they flogging that again? And when I actually used to have a sales job, my mum, like, she didn't mean it in a bad way, but she would use that terminology. She goes, oh, so what are they getting you to flog now? And it would make me feel so horrible. And inside, I was also thinking, God, what will my family think about me if I'm a really strong salesperson? Do they think that I'm like flogging things to people and that I'm making people buy stuff that they don't need and all this stuff inside me? And it's not until I brought awareness into that and really did some work around what I felt about that I cut through that shit. So please take the time to do that, to start to gain an understanding of what you feel about you being a salesperson and about selling things to people. It's really important. When you can bring that awareness in, it starts to become a lot easier to flip that and start to change the course, because where you are right now is just a result of past beliefs and past conditioning. If you can bring awareness and start to change what you're feeling about that, whether you do that on your own or you do that through journaling or you do that through working with someone, you are going to start to change your results just by having that awareness. Once you've got that awareness around where you are now, I want you to then start to think about, where do you want to be? So that was the next question that I asked that particular client. Okay, so that's how you're feeling about sales now. How would you like it to feel and be when it comes to sales in your business? Like, who is that woman? If you think about yourself as a salesperson and you took that cap off right now and you stopped judging and you stopped feeling like you were dirty or that you were icky or that you weren't enough, and it was the perfect world, like fast forward, whatever you need, a year, 10 years from now, what does that woman feel like when she makes a sale? And start to create that feeling of what it's like. You know, who is she? Who do you need to be in order to be the saleswoman that you want to be? And that's a really important exercise as well, because you want to start getting clear on where you are now and where you want to be so that you can start to work towards that. And obviously there's going to be interferences there and stuff that you've got to work through, but the clearer you can get on your A and your B point, the easier it is to start working through this. So that is the pillar number 1, guys, clarity. Pillar number 2 is all around confidence. We need to improve your confidence around selling. So once you've got this awareness, your confidence is actually instantly going to be increased, because all of a sudden you're going to have a better understanding as to why you feel like this about sales. But I just want to give you some insights into some other stuff that I'm hoping will help boost your confidence, because the whole reason why I'm here is because I want to boost your confidence to be better at what you do and have more people take you up on your awesome offers. You need to understand the psychology of sales. And what I mean by that is why people buy and why they don't buy. Okay, so I'll say that again, why they buy and why they don't buy. And they don't not buy just because they don't like you. Again, don't make it about you. This is really important, guys. People buy with emotion. It is always emotion that is coming through when they decide to buy something from you. Okay, so if you're being really logical all the time and you're doing what I call, and you'll hear me talk about the tap dance all the time, like, I'm doing this tap dance, and when I say the tap dance, it means that you're basically, imagine yourself doing a little tap dance, like your little performing monkey. Sorry, I don't mean that to sound terrible, but like, kind of have a laugh about it. And I see people in sales calls or in sales situations all the time doing this little tap dance. I might as well put their little tap hat on, and it's like, oh, and I can give you this, and I can give you that, and they're going nowhere into understanding the psychology of that person on the phone, because the reason that person is even interested remotely in what you're doing or talking to you about the possibility of getting work done by you is because there's a problem. And you need to be okay to start talking to them about where they are now, kind of like what I'm doing for you right now, and where they want to go, because people need to understand the gaps of what they want and what the gaps are for them. And sometimes I don't like using this word because I think it puts people off, but it's almost like being okay to take people to a pain point. I don't mean taking people to pain in a bad way. I would never want to cause pain to any other human being. We're talking about just getting people to understand and have the neurological triggers to really start to buy into understanding why they need you, and have that emotion start to come up. Sales is tension. Hi amazing one, I hope you're loving this video. If it's vibing with you and feels like it's the right fit for you, then please come join us over in our free Facebook group. I'd love to get to know more about you and your business really soon.